If you are a non-resident seller in Rhode Island, you may get surprised if you have not prepared yourself for the non-resident withholding requirement. Today we're going to have a little chat about taxes. Yay! I'm Sandi Warner with Warner Realty Group. Today I'm going to try to make the non-resident withholding requirement make a little more sense, and I'll try to make it a little more interesting. In Rhode Island and in other states, Maryland does it, I think Virginia does it, it's not just us. Rhode Island, in order to capture the income tax on a sale of property, has what's called a non-resident withholding requirement. And what that means is that if you are not a resident of Rhode Island, you're domiciled in another state, or if you're a corporation that is not registered in Rhode Island or is not approved under the Secretary of State, you have to the buyer of your real property will have to file income tax on your behalf. Essentially what that means, if you sell a property, say that you own an investment property and you live in Connecticut, and you sell your Rhode Island investment property, the buyer of your property, through their attorney, will file a tax return, a withholding tax return, in the amount of 6% if they're an individual. If you're an individual and they're an individual. So that's a big chunk of change, right? So why does the buyer have to do it? The buyer has to do it because Rhode Island knows if you're living in Connecticut, it's harder for Rhode Island as a state to go after you in Connecticut to collect this tax. So what they do is they make it the buyer's responsibility, and they put a lien on you, the seller. They put a lien on your property. What happens is the buyer's attorney files a certificate of payment with the Rhode Island Division of Taxation. And when that's filed, it's considered that you, the seller, you, Connecticut seller, has now paid that and your lien is released. So how much is this tax? If you don't file a certificate of withholding based on your gain, it'll be 6% of the total sale of your property, minus the cost of sale, if you file that way. So say, for example, you sell your multifamily, you've had a multifamily in Rhode Island and you sell it for $500,000. It would be a lot more than that in today's market, but say you sold it for $500,000 and you did not go to your CPA and figure out your gain, your basis, and you didn't calculate out what it cost you on the sale, you would pay 6% of $500,000, which is whatever that is. Don't quote me on it. It's $25,000 to $30,000. If you instead took a couple minutes and filled out Rhode Island Tax Form 71.3, you might need your CPA to help you out with that. You could take the total cost of your sale, less the broker's fees, our fees for selling it, less what you paid for the property, and less what you had to pay to bring this property up to the value that you sold it. So that's where you kind of need your CPA, because some people are writing off the cost of maintenance throughout the years, and some people just want to write that off there at the end. So you would kind of need your accountant involved there. If you file this form, you're only going to pay that income tax on your gain. So not super exciting stuff, but this comes up. It does take a little bit of forethought. So if you're not living in Rhode Island, if you're not domiciled in Rhode Island, and you are selling your Rhode Island property, get your accountant involved, get your realtor involved, understand what your gain is going to be so that you don't have to write a big fat check at closing. I'm Sandi Warner with Warner Realty Group. Warner Realty Group, making the complex simple.